This is the Successful Archi Students podcast, episode 24. So you're an Archi student. You're smart, you're creative, and heck, you're ready to take on the world with your crazy designs. Before you get to that point, however, you need to build up the habits and the knowledge and the skills of the successful architect. And what most students don't realize is that you don't learn these things over time. Rather, you learn these things through experience and deliberate practice outside of your university education. My name's Kyle, I'm an Archi student just like you, and I'm committed to being successful, no matter what it will take. And I'm hoping you're ready to take that journey with me as you listen to the Successful Archi Student podcast. What is going on, guys? Today I'm joined by a student who's not an architecture student, but he's actually a college student who's keen on studying architecture. His name is Daniel. He's from Melbourne, Australia, and I'm going to be having a chat with him about preparing for architecture school and getting ready for it. So if you're a high school student or a student looking to do architecture, I think this video is going to be extremely beneficial and helpful for you. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. This is the Successful Archi Students podcast, episode 24. Welcome to another show. Today I'm here with Daniel from Melbourne, Australia. How are you doing, Daniel?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm very fine, thank you. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show. I do appreciate you taking the time out to chat with us about architecture. And originally, you're from Malaysia, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
You're now studying in Melbourne, I believe. Would you mind telling me a bit more about kind of yourself and where you are in regards to your education?
I'm currently in college, yeah.
Yep.
I just finished my high school last year in 2019.
Okay. Yeah, you told me you're planning to go into architecture next year. Can I ask, what inspired you to pursue architecture?
Well, actually, before this, I didn't really have the interest in architecture. Like when I was really young, I had an interest in to become a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And, well, eventually when I was like around the age of 9 and around 10, then that's where I made up my mind that I want to study architecture. So, yeah, it's actually partly inspired by, Legos?
Yeah.
So that played a very big role in what inspired me to become an architect, and to study architecture.
I feel like that's quite a common way of getting into architecture, playing with Legos as a child and building little blocks and stuff like this. I think I did a lot of that when I was a child as well. So definitely something common.
Yep, definitely something in common. And and I like go on the internet. I look through many interesting like buildings, and there's one specific architect that actually really inspired me, which is Bjarke Ingels.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I love this like concept and methodology of planning buildings and how it's like hybridism and all that. Yeah. It's like it's really out of the box, it's not just a design, there's a specific reason behind that design, and it's really interesting.
I've got a feeling he's going to win the Pritzker Prize this year, so that's kind of my that's what I'm thinking for the future.
Yep.
He's doing some crazy things.
Yeah, all his projects are like it's like something out of the ordinary, Yep, it's like not a normal type of projects. Yeah.
So you've been you're set on doing architecture that since you were 9 or 10. That's quite a long time, I guess. So have you ever lost motivation to study architecture, or you've come across some challenges along that journey of kind of being inspired to study architecture for that long?
Well, as the years go by, it just gets stronger, It's like, we just like, there's not really much challenges yet, but I'm going to expect some from university. So, yeah.
Cool. I guess because you're starting architecture next year, is there anything you're doing at the moment to prepare for that?
Well, I do like some mini prototypes, like using Legos, and like I do some sketches of building ideas that I have in my mind. Hopefully I can realize them in university or maybe in the future. Well, yeah. And I do some slight reading on architecture as well. Yep. And researching some projects and see how the thing goes. Yeah. And currently your channel happens to be one of the methods I'm doing in like research on this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
That's really cool. So you said you're doing some reading and stuff. Do you have any favorite architecture related books, or is there a blog you follow or something like that?
Mostly it's on Instagram, yeah.
Mm.
So I follow like many of the starchitects as well as um, some notable architects on Instagram, and I keep up with the projects as well as skyscraper pages and all that. Yeah, and I have a interest in more to like skyscrapers in terms of like building types. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on that side as well of the big commercial buildings or big
Yep.
residential buildings anyway. It's just a lot more fun, but I guess once you actually get into architecture school, you do a lot of that stuff in architecture school, but then when you get out of architecture school, that's when you're kind of just doing toilet details and these small residential buildings and stuff. But like as you work up, you definitely get to work more on that.
And it just progresses higher and higher. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So coming up and preparing for architecture school, is there anything that frightens you or scares you about it?
Well, from what I've seen and read, and lots of architecture memes, it's more to like the projects. Like you'll need lots and lots of coffee. That's what they say.
That's what I'm doing right now. Yep. Yeah, definitely lots of late nights and long days. So coffee's not a bad idea.
I'm expecting lots of those. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So actually, I was going back to that idea of kind of the starchitects and big buildings and stuff. I was looking through your Instagram page and I saw your YouTube channel. Not to spy on you or anything, but I saw that you'd been filming some holidays you're on in New York and stuff, and you were filming a lot of all this nice architecture. I saw you, and I kind of want to know. I've never really traveled myself, and it seems like it really opened you up to the world of architecture. So, is that something you suggest other students do, to go out and actually experience the architecture for themselves?
Yes, I really do suggest that instead of looking at just in pictures, you can go and visit those buildings in real life. So actually, New York, the city itself, played a very big role in inspiring me to study architecture. Typically because of the skyscrapers and all the grids and the streets and avenues and how the people interconnect. Yeah, it really inspired me.
Where else did you go?
You mean like before this?
I don't know. I think I saw like you went to Chicago and something else like that. And I saw what's that really nice building in Chicago? I was trying to think of it.
City?
Yeah. I think it's the artwork where it's like a little blob thing and it's all silver.
Yeah, the bean they call it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's a very aesthetic sculpture. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually like I'm a strong believer, I guess, in the fact that you should always be doing something on the side to gain more knowledge, like outside of university or outside of high school or college. So like going out and experiencing the architecture for yourself, it's definitely got to be good for you because you're learning something that no one else is learning on the side. And it's it helps you gain those skills that other students won't have, which will make you more valuable in the industry, I guess. So I think that's really good you're doing that.
Yep, definitely.
Awesome. I'm going to hit you up with a bit of a fire round here. Just a couple of quick questions, I guess. Sure. So who's your favorite architect?
As I've said before, it's Bjarke Ingels at the moment. Yep. And also, the second I would say is Zaha Hadid. Yep. That's like it's a whole different type of architecture as compared to Bjarke Ingels. Yep. It's all those fluid and like biological kind of shapes. Yeah. Yep. And there's also one that's actually not an architect but a designer. His name is Thomas Hitterwick, the designer of the vessel in New York.
I haven't seen any of his work, but I'll be sure to look that up.
Yep. He's not an he calls himself a designer.
Okay.
So not an architect, but yeah, he designs buildings, and his kind of like a methodology and approach is similar to Bjarke Ingels. So yeah. As well as other kind of architects such as Norman Foster and all that. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, you really do love all the big buildings and all the starchitecture, I guess you can call it.
Yep, you can call me that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what would be your favorite building then? Would it be one of Bjarke's work, or would it be one of Zaha's?
I don't really have a particular building that I really love, but I just like the way the history or the stories that the architects go through when they design and build a building. That's what makes the building special.
Mm.
So that's what I strongly believe. Like I do not really favor any buildings, but any skyscrapers that has those special technologies and stuff, yeah, it really catches my eye. Yeah.
Mm.
But it's mostly skyscrapers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Would you have a favorite architecture-related book? I know that you're not like officially into your education yet, and you probably haven't done a whole lot of reading. You're only 17 years old, which I think is incredible that you're already doing all this stuff on the side. But would you have a favorite architecture-related book?
I'm currently reading Form, Space, and Order by
Oh, yep.
Francis. Yeah, I'm currently reading that. So that's like the first architecture book that I'm really reading on. So
Yeah.
I would say it's actually quite helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Like, I really want to buy that book though, because I don't have it yet. I've
I can
got.
send you the book if you want.
Oh yeah, I'll take it.
Sure, no problem.
That's cool. Is that a book you recommend to other students?
As an architect, as I'm not really an architecture student yet, but to get an insight in architecture, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah,
You can just go and read this. You won't lose anything anyways. You just
exactly.
gain knowledge. Yep. And
Love that.
by the way, since I'm from Malaysia, the capital city, Kuala Lumpur.
Yep.
Yep. There's like the Petronas Twin Towers, which is the tallest twin towers in the world right now.
Yeah.
And currently there's like two more buildings under construction. One's recently completed. They call it the TRX 106.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't seen any photos or anything, but
it's almost open. And there's another one that's really under construction now. It's the PNB 118,
okay.
which is going to be like the second tallest building on Earth.
Wow.
And
Do you know how,
apparently, yes.
I was going to say, do you know how roughly how tall it is? I think because the Burj Khalifa.
It's 666 meters at the moment.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, but it's partly because of the spire. So yeah. And there's also like that PNB 118 was designed by an Australian firm, Fender Katsalidis.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Like,
that's sick.
And yeah.
All right, well, I'll hit you up with the next question then. And because I know that you're not an architecture student, but I think you're actually doing really well as a high school student who hasn't even started architecture yet. So I want to ask you this question. What's one piece of advice you would give to aspiring architecture students? So people like yourself who are wanting to go into architecture, what's one piece of advice you would give them to be successful?
I would say architecture, just follow your passion. That's the important thing. So if you really are into architecture, all those projects, all those hard works about to go through, it won't it'll hurt a bit, but it'll be worth it. Yeah. So just persevere through the way, and you'll taste the sweet fruits of labor.
Yeah.
Just I mean, if you really have the passion in it, seriously, you'll feel like you really it's part of your future career, your future job, and all this thing you're going through is just going to increase experience in the field. So that's what I really recommend architecture students. Those projects won't really matter that much if you're really into architecture.
Yep, I completely agree. That's great advice. Thank you. All right, so we are running out of time, but before I leave you, is there anything else that you want to mention before we part ways?
Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you to this opportunity to be on your podcast. It's my first podcast, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Sure, no problem.
Awesome, dude. And I've got one more question as well. If someone wants to connect with you, and even if you just want someone to follow you on Instagram or something, where can they find you? Are you on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or anything like that?
The only social media I have is Instagram. Yeah. They can search up my username, maybe.
I'll put it on the screen for you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being on the show. I know that you've got to go really far with architecture. I can't believe how inspired you are just at 17 years old. You really are an inspiration to other high school students as well. So thank you for taking the time with us, and it's been an absolute honor.
No problem. And thank you very much for the opportunity as well. This podcast will really like increase my experience. Yeah, I might do the podcast as well. Yeah, so yeah.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, I'll leave you to it. Have a good Sunday night, and I'll speak to you soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great Sunday night as well.
Thank you so much.